Okay, now we're gonna make the nose. We're gonna start with a magic circle. So inside the magic circle, I'm gonna do 6 single crochet. Six single crochet, and row 2, I'm going to do 1 single crochet followed by an increase. Do 1 single crochet. Let me add my marker. Increase, and you're going to do 3 sets of this. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, and you should have 9 stitches in this row. So now row 3, I'm going to do 2 single crochet followed by an increase. 1 single crochet, two single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, increase, and the last set, 1 single crochet, oops, 2 single crochet and increase. And row 4, I'm going to do a single crochet all around, which I will have 12 stitches, just like row 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you have 11, 12. Okay, this is how the nose will look like, and I'll leave a long tail for sewing. Oops. Okay, leave a long tail for sewing, and I can remove the marker. Okay, now I'm going to sew the black part of the nose. Okay, let me see. I just cut a piece of black yarn. You can tie this to the tail of the magic circle. Just tie a knot or 2 knots if you want. Okay. So the nose is going to be this way. It's not going to be round like this. It's going to be this way when I sew. Let me see. It's a magic circle. Should be here. Okay, I think it's wide enough. So I'm going to do this like okay, put all this tail inside here, so when I sew, all this tail will hide inside. Oh, one more, if you can go from the top. And I'm going to do one more. Okay, so in order not to see these three lines here, I am going to do this way. You go through all this black yarn, so the nose will look like this. Instead of looking like three lines, at least this looks more like a nose. And one last one here. Don't pull too tight and not too loose. So one glance, it doesn't have that three lines there and look a bit like a mustache. And poke it back into that same hole here. And if you look at Paul's poster, it has all these dotted lines here. I'll make one tiny dot line here. So when I stitch, I make sure it's just a tiny, it goes back, not to the same line, not to the same hole, but like half a stitch away, so that some of it would stay outside, like a dot like this. If you notice, it has a lot of this dot here, so there should be one more dot here, I guess. I can't remember where's the dot. You hang in there, let me check. Okay, roughly it's there. Maybe I should make two dots here and two dots here, just to represent. Oops. Okay. Oops. I just lost this dot because I pulled too tight. I'll do again later on. It's not easy to do this dot I do not want the dot to be too big nor too small. Okay, you see a tiny dot there, and another one here. You see, normally when we go through the hole here, when you do the single crochet, we go through the hole here. Now you have to do it here, like in the middle of nowhere. Maybe one more dot here. That's why you have to use small needle like this, not the tapestry needle. Don't pull too tight. Oops, it will disappear. Okay, let me hold on to that. Oh, okay. Now why did I pull this side? It's already a dot. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me do that again. Maybe somewhere in the middle here, in between the 5-ply yarn. Oops. Maybe I should use not so thick yarn to do this. Oh, okay. Come back here, and you have one dot here. So you will have one dot here. Wait, let me see. I don't think that's the right dot. I think the dot should be here, here, here. Okay, I'll remove that. But at least I hope you get the idea. You just make 2 dots here. Well, if you think this is a hassle, maybe you can use a marker pen to make few dots. But I prefer to have it sole. At least the whole paw Kung Fu Panda thing. There's no marker or blusher or, you know, it's all yarn. I'll come back to you once I get this out and I do the dots here. Okay, I'm gonna sew the nose onto the head before I add stuffing. And if you have watched Kung Fu Panda before, the head, the back of the head is black in color. So the nose is not here, the nose is here on this white part. So this is a magic circle of the white part. The nose is not exactly on the magic circle, it's at the side, because its mouth kind of goes sway to the other side a bit. And make sure all this dot is facing down. It looks like kind of mustache thing. I use the black yarn here is a 5-ply cotton yarn, so I took off 3 and just use the 2-ply to make all these dots. It look kind of like lines. If you want, you can use a marker pen or something, but if you use a marker pen, after a few wash it will go away. At least this one, it still looks like a mustache. I'm not sure if it's a mustache or it's just there on the, you can look at the poster. So here, this is a magic circle. I'm gonna sew it here away, and just make 2 stitch here. That's why the nose will determine where the eyes and the ear will be. So once I got this right, there'll be a lower jaw. This is, or the mouth you can call it. This is just the eyes and the mouth. Then I even have eyebrow to make the eye look a bit bulging. And once I sew it here, remember this is the magic circle, You sew it to the side, and here this part here, the cheek here, these two, make 2 stitch to make it go inside. I'll show you later on. So here, since I have not add stuffing, it's easy to sew, but when you sew, you make sure this yarn here, you do not interfere. So it's gonna face this side to the side like this. And by right I should need stuffing, but since I have all this tail here, it's enough to stuff it up. So this is a magic circle. You can go through the magic circle so that half of the magic circle is covered by the nose. So you're gonna look like this, and this is the head. Does it look like Kung Fu Panda a bit now? And just make 1 stitch across. You come through here like this, and leave it there and take a look and see, does it look like a nose that has gone sideways? And also you check around if you see there's any spot that you didn't do well, or is bulging or something that is not right. You make sure that part is the neck. So when we connect this to the neck, you can't see. So the top part here, you make sure it's all the nice stitch, in case you have 1 or 2 that is you know. So once you think this is the right spot, make sure you cover the magic circle a bit, so that when I stitch, you can only see this round but not the magic circle. So once you think this is right, just go in this way. And it comes out inside. And you sew it all around. It's kind of hard to sew the whole thing on camera, so I hope you get the idea how I'm going to sew this here, and I'll come back to you and show you how I'm going to make the cheek go in a bit with the same yarn. So once you sew here, do not cut the yarn yet. I'm going to do 1 stitch here and pull so that it kind of go in a bit, so his face looks like this. Or you can do this later after I do the eye and the eyebrow, then you can pull this in, because by then it's easier, because now with the eye I still need space here for the eye. So you just sew around here first and leave this cheek alone. I'll do this later when I'm doing the mouth or the jaw, you can call it. Okay, I'll come back to you once I get this nicely done. Okay, now to do the mouth, or maybe I can call it the bottom jaw. You start with a chain 9. And this is just my habit of making a knot. Then I'm gonna chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And go to the second stitch from the hook. This is the hook, this is the first stitch. You go to the second stitch and do single crochet. So you should have 8 single crochet. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn the work. So I'm going to do 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 3 single crochet, and now we do a 2 together. Just take the front loop and the front loop. Oops. We put through 2 and 2, and then the balance 3 we're going to do single crochet. It's 3 single crochet. So that's when you have 3 single crochet here, 1, 2 together, and then 3 single crochet. So all in you will have 7 stitches. And now you chain 1, turn the work. I'm going to do 1 single crochet, 1, 2 together, and again 1 single crochet, 1, 2 together, oops, make sure you take all this, and 1 single crochet, and you chain 1 and pull tight, and you will have something like this. And you sew it here. Make sure when you sew, you leave the top part here, so to make the lips look like it's there's a gap there to show that this is the mouth. It's slightly opened, or even if it's closed, you can still see the lines. So here I'm gonna cut the yarn and leave a long tail for sewing. So when I sew, I'm gonna hide this inside, or you can hide this around here first. Hide it around here. Oh no, here inside a bit. And hide it a bit more here. So that when I cut the yarn, it stays inside here. So you can cut this part here and make sure it stays this way. Because there's no stuffing yet, so you won't be able to see it nicely. So when you sew, it ends here. Whoops, it's kind of hard to hold it because there's no stuffing and it's very light. Make 1 stitch here first, right under the nose. Make 1 stitch across and stitch it here and hold it and see. So make sure you pull this both side to this side, so at least it looks like the mouth. make sure it's open a bit, open up a bit. I haven't pulled yet, so it looks as if this part, the bottom part, is way too long, but once you stitch this tight, the mouth is just right. So make sure the top part here, you leave it ajar. You just sew around here. From this part here, sew it on here. And make sure these two corners here, you pull it tight so that the mouth stays ajar like this. Slightly open. Okay, this is how the mouth look like. You leave it ajar like that. And I've tested it out. I think this is the right place for the eye. If you want to know where is this eye, this is the magic circle. I try to cover it, but as that when I sew, it's kind of like towards the other side. So slightly you can still see the magic circle. So from this magic circle to the eye is about 1, 2, 3, 4, between the 5th and the 6th row. And the mouth here is not straight, it's should be like this. It went up a bit. He has this cheeky face. I'm doing this based on a poster. I hope this turns out right. Okay, now I'm going to crochet the black part of the left eye. So the left eye and the right eye will be slightly different. It's not exactly the same, because the left eye is kind of like smaller, the black part here, and the right eye is slightly bigger. And I've tried a few places and I think this is the right place for this eye. So I'm gonna leave this here first and crochet the black part and put it there and see if it works. I hope it turns out to look like Kung Fu Panda. This project has taken me quite a few months. This is the longest ever. Okay, now for the left eye, this is the left eye. You do a knot, you make a knot. Okay, this is just my habit of making a knot. So after this knot, you chain 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. After chain 15, you're gonna join it to the first one here. Join it to the first stitch with a slip stitch. When I crochet here, I'm not going to bring this along because I want this to be like my marker to mark that this is the first the starting point. So I am going to do, oops, okay, let me put this the other side, leave it aside first. I'm going to start with doing a half double crochet. And sorry, there will be another half double crochet. So the first stitch is a half double crochet, the second stitch is also a half double crochet, and then followed by 4 slip stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4 slip stitch, and after this 4 slip stitch, gonna do 4 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. After the 4 single crochet, I'm going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. So you're gonna look like this. This part here is gonna look like this. It will, oh sorry, it will be like this when I sew it onto the eye. This is at the corner, the eye look like this, and this part would touch the eye. And by the way, it's green eyes. Okay, after this slip stitch, I'm gonna turn the work, and right after I turn the work, I'm not going to chain one, because chain one will create like a squarish thing. So I turn my work, straight away I do a slip stitch. So after this slip stitch, next stitch I'm going to do a single crochet, a half double crochet in the next, followed by a single crochet and a slip stitch. Oops. Okay, and a slip stitch. So after this slip stitch, turn your work, and again straight away do a slip stitch, and the next one you're gonna do a single crochet into the same stitch, do a double crochet, and the next stitch also a double crochet, and in the same stitch you do a single crochet and you slip stitch to the next. So it will turn out like this. And when I'm not gonna stick it onto the eye, I am going to sew it. I hope I sew with this yarn it goes well. Okay, let's see. It's going to be like this. Gonna stretch it out. Make sure this top part touches the eye, and the part here leave a bit of a white, and here more white. Should look like this. So this half double crochet will mark where I should sew it. So it would look like this. Here not round enough. And then when I sew, maybe I should add one more stitch here. I think it's a bit too tight. Just now I got it quite round. Maybe I should do again the same stitch. It's just that it's not round enough, but later I can use, when I sew, I can sew one more stitch here to make it more round. Same goes for here, and you see now it's a bit straight. Make one more stitch here when we sew, and it will round up. So make sure it looks like this. And it goes down, and the mouth goes sideways. So you have to make sure the mouth goes sideways. If not, your eyes would be this way, and it make the nose look straight. So now the eyes is this way. So it make the mouth looks like it kind of turn up this way, I hope. Okay, so now I'm gonna leave a long tail and try my level best to sew it like how I place it just now. So it's kind of difficult to sew on camera. There you see, when when you stitch it this way, here become round again. So when I come to this point here, make one stitch here, and this one will cover up. And you just make sure it goes this way. It goes down, not straight, because we want the mouth to, we want this mouth to go this way. So I'll come back to you once I have this nicely fastened. Okay, let me just explain how I sew it, because just now it's moving about and it's quite difficult for me to show on camera. So all this tail, you just leave it there, because who knows, you might need some of it. Just leave it there first. Later when everything is settled, then I will tie a knot, tie this to this, this to this, you know, and make sure you do not interrupt with this one, because we have not finished crocheting the whole head yet. So here what I did is, remember there's a tail here, I mean when we started there's a tail here, and we join with a slip stitch. So that tail, I pull it down inside and tie a knot with one of the tail inside, so it kind of hold it in place. And I pull this right to as far as I can, pull this as far as I can, and I want to make sure that this black part touches the eye and this black part touches the eye, and here leave a little bit of white. And this part here is our half double crochet. You see the straight line here. After you have done, you follow my pattern, you will see there's a straight line here before you start to curve. So this straight line is the bottom of the eye. That's how you measure it. So this is the straight line, and this is a curl, and this is a curl, and this is a half double crochet that we started. So I make one, because my tail was here, so I make one stitch here, and I make one stitch here, because I want to make sure this part goes very near the eye, touches the eye. And then I make one stitch here. You just poke it this way, nearest to the stopper, the eye stopper at the back. So you push it this way, and once this and this is in place, and especially here is in place, then the rest you just go ahead and sew the sides here one round, because once this is nicely intact, the rest is easy, it doesn't come off. So I make one, the tail ends here, I make one stitch here, make sure I make one stitch here, one stitch here, and one stitch here. I want to make sure this leaves some white eye, and this is stretched to the max, to the back, and this one is at the back. So once you get this 4 stitch right, because it's kind of difficult to put pin, because this is kind of fold this way, I'm not sure, maybe you can add pin if you want. For me, I find it kind of difficult, so I just make one stitch here, 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 and here, and make sure these 4 stitches holds it in place. Then I start to sew the sides here. After you sew on the sides here, make a few stitches here as well, so that this one will not open up. Make one here, and maybe 1 or 2 here, so that no doubt you can see the white of the eye, but it won't open up. Now for the next eye, I can't remember, I couldn't count how many, what's the distance, but I will use the magic circle as the guide. This is a magic circle, it's just like 2 rows away from the magic circle, and it's in line with the other eye, and this mouth is to the other side because of his kind of cheeky smile. So I'm gonna make another one here, and this yarn, this white yarn, I'm gonna use it to sew this mouth, let it sink in a bit, so this way it'll look even more cheeky. You don't have to push so much, just a bit, but not now, because I need to sew the eye first before. If you push it in now, it's kind of difficult to sew the eye. So now we're gonna go on with the right eye. Okay, now we do the right eye, the patch. You're gonna start with a chain 16. You make a knot, and then you're gonna chain 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So after 16 stitches, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, you go to the first stitch and make a slip stitch and leave this tail there. So this tail will act as a marker for me. Now I am going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch and another slip stitch, and I'm going to do 10 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the last 2 stitch here, again slip stitch, just slip stitch, and I'm going to turn the work, and I'm going to do slip stitch in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, oh sorry, it's a slip stitch. I forgot. And let me do that again. Slip stitch, 4 slip stitch. And I'm going to do 2 single crochet, 1, 2 single crochet in the next 2 actually, and after that it's going to be 6 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're gonna do a single crochet next stitch. It's gonna be a bit hard because just now I did a slip stitch with this too tight, and the last one would be a slip stitch. So actually this part here, you not necessarily have to follow exactly what I do. If you can find another way of making this patch, by all means go ahead, so long it looks like a panda. And this eye will be here, up. It goes up like this. So leave a long tail, and like just now, this tail here, I'm gonna poke it in here, tie a knot with whatever tail I can find inside, so that it kind of hold its place. And then maybe I'll make one stitch here, one stitch here, and one stitch here. So after this 4 stitch, if I find that everything looks alright, and then I'll start to sew all around it and a few stitches inside, so that you won't see it open up like this. Okay, so this is how it look like, and I'll show you later once I sew it properly. Okay, this is how the eye look like, the patch. Here I took out 2 stitches, so remember the second row I did a single crochet, I did 4 slip stitch, 2 single crochet, and then 6 half double crochet. So the 6 half double crochet I changed it to 4 half double crochet, and then a single crochet, and then a slip stitch. So I reduced 2 half double crochet so that it will look like this. And now to make the eyebrow, the left brow. Now for the left brow, you use a white yarn, you make a knot, and you chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You chain 6, you go to the second stitch from the hook. This is a hook, this is the first stitch, this is the second stitch. Go to the second stitch and start to do single crochet. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, here you're gonna pull a bead, you're gonna turn the work, and straight away slip stitch, not here but slip stitch to the next. Slip stitch, and you do single crochet. So you will have 3 single crochet, and the last stitch you're gonna slip stitch. And you're gonna leave a long tail for sewing. And the eyebrow will look like this. For this side, the eyebrow is kind of short one, just like this here. So you make sure, like what I normally do, this part here, you use a needle or a hook to pull it inside, and then you check and see if it's in the right spot. If it's in the right spot, then you can start to sew all around it. Okay, so I've fastened it here. And now to make the eyebrow for the right side. Okay, it's still with the white yarn. I make a knot, and you chain 9. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Chain 9, and you go to the second stitch from the hook. This is the one, the second, first, second. Go to the second stitch from the hook and start to do single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. You should have 8 single crochet. And now you chain 1, turn the work, and do single crochet, 7 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops. And the last one is going to be a slip stitch, and you pull a long tail. The chain 1 part is the one over here, and make sure it curls a bit so that it looks like an eyebrow. The chain 1 will be here. You try to join it with this side here, and the tip here should go upwards like this. Here you're gonna join with the black part here, but here goes upwards, and this part join with this side. And make sure when you stitch it curls like this so that it looks more like an eyebrow. This side didn't curl enough, maybe because it's too short. So I hope this side will curl when I sew. So like usual, you just take a needle, get this yarn inside here so that you hold it in place, and then from here you make 1 stitch here and 1 stitch here, and then you take a look and see if everything is in order. Then you just sew all around it. And if you think the eyebrow that I created is too long or too short, you can make a longer one or a shorter one, your own version. I mean, as long as from here you get the idea how you're gonna do it. So roughly from there you can shorten it or make it longer, or even make it in a certain way that you like. Okay, now to add the ear should be around here, based on the eye. And when you sew, make sure you fold it into this tiny, because Kung Fu Panda has very tiny ears. This side as well, you just make sure when you sew it, it becomes tiny like this. Don't sew it like this, sew it this way. Make 1 more stitch here so that it will kind of fall in here. And later we are going to do the sunk in here a bit, just a bit. It doesn't really look like Kung Fu Panda, but I hope it is just as cute. And this is the ear. Right above the eye is on the white part here, not the black one. And this side here we have to cover everything. If you have watched Paul, the cartoon, the back of the head is black. Actually, I think I should have more of the black, right? It's okay, it's too late now. Okay, now I want to make this sunk in. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. I just use those balance tail that I have. Let's try. Make this part sunk in and pull it over to this side. Let's see. This is the time. I mean, normally we will ask you not to pull too tight, but this is the time to pull real tight, because we want to make that kind of dimple thing. I'm not sure. Does it look like that? Okay, and here I'm gonna make from here to here. I make 1 stitch over here and pull, so it kind of sunk in a bit. And this side, do that again. somewhere here, I guess. Oh, yeah. Can't pull too tight because it will show like a hole, right? Then make it come this way. See, it kind of sunk in a bit. Okay, I guess that's about it. And we're gonna finish this part here and add stuffing, lots and lots of stuffing to plump it up. Okay, now we're gonna continue with this. We got 3 more rows to do. We're gonna start off, this is row 28. We're gonna start by doing single crochet in the next 2. This is 1, 2, and a 2 together. I already add a bit of a stuffing, and by the time the last row I'm gonna add more, because if you do not add now you won't be able to push the stuffing more to the front here. Isn't that cute? Okay, so now this row 28, you're gonna do 6 sets of this, 2 single crochet followed by a decrease, and you should have 18 stitches when you reach here. Okay, now row 29, you're gonna do 1 single crochet. Let me add my marker. 1 single crochet followed by a 2 together. You're gonna do 6 sets of this. Oops. And by the time you reach the end you should have 12 stitches. Oops, it's getting tight. Sorry if I accidentally went off screen. I do sometime. Oops, wait, let me get that right. Okay, 1 and 2 together, and the last part we're gonna do 2 together all the way. Oops. Okay, now the last part, row 30, I'm gonna do decrease all the way. So before I do that, add more stuffing. Make sure you push it to all the sides here. Add as much as you can, because this is a panda, not just a panda, it's a Kung Fu Panda. Add more stuffing, plump up all the corners, just in case. This corner here, this corner here. And take a look and see, did it plump up nicely? The stitches here is that technique of changing yarn will make it look like this. Okay, let's plump it up more and see. Okay, does it look like Paul? It does look like Paul a bit. Here it does not sink in that much, but anyway we did add a few stitches, so it will sink in. Okay, let's see if I plump up nicely. Is it plump enough? I guess so. Okay, now to do the decrease all the way. This is gonna be difficult. Oops. Okay, let me just add a marker to remind myself this is the first stitch. Now I get carried away. Oops. Ew, it's kind of tight. Okay, the last decrease. Okay, I'm gonna remove this. I would need a long tail so that I can use it to sew it onto the body. So wait, let me seal this hole first. Let's seal a hole here. Let's seal it first. So I'm going to go through all the front loop. Have to do this nicely because this will show. This is not the part where we are going to sew on the body. This will be the back of the head, and it does not have hair to hide it. So I've got to do this right there. And you okay, I'm going to make a few stitches here and there first. One stitch here, looks about right. Okay, there. Then you join it onto the body like this. Make sure, now with the head, you obviously will know where to join, right? So this will be in the way, you kind of push it down. So all you do is one stitch from the body, one on the head, one on the body, one on the head. That way you won't miss a stitch and it will stitch up nicely and you won't see all those lines. So again, it's kind of difficult to show you on camera because I need to hold it in a certain way. So I hope you get what I mean. So here, I'm gonna move my needle to the bottom here, the part where I'm going to stitch. So here, I'm gonna stitch. Then I'll come back to you and show you the whole thing. Okay, this is how it looked like. I think it looked more like Paul's cousin. Maybe it should be a bit more plump. I'm not sure. So this is my version of Kung Fu Panda. So what's your version of your panda? Please do share your finished product in my comment section. I would love to see how your panda turns out. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and I'll see you in my next post.